1 2 test, 1 2 test, microphone on. Oh yeah. Let's do it. Big face. There we go. My face is too big. Some would say, and it's not just on this screen that it's too big. Sorry, don't know what's going on. It's really weird. My computer's being all funny. For those of you that don't do podcasts or don't do videos like this, you've no idea how fucky the software is. I'll just fix this camera a bit as well. That's a bit better. So there we go. Welcome to Politics, Culture and Some Other Shit, everybody. Hope you're well. Please excuse my tardy appearance. I haven't shaved. I've been very, very busy. I mean, you wouldn't believe, like, working till stupid o'clock in the morning and getting up at stupid o'clock. So shaving goes out the window, you know what I'm saying? And because I'm so busy, and Janie's very busy as well, I'm not getting to kiss her face, so I don't need to shave. Yeah. So there we go. So welcome to the podcast. I hope you're well. On this Friday the 8th of November, the year of our Lord 2024, 3 days after the US election, results came in which, as you know by now, of course you do, Donald Trump not only secured a victory, he absolutely ramped it home. And very few commentators were making that prediction. I, for one, didn't think that was going to happen. I suspected that he might win, but as we get closer to the election, and certainly on the day before, I wasn't sure at all. A few people had sent me messages, and I said I really didn't know. And but if you asked me a week before, I might have said, yeah, I think he was going to win. Well, I would have, but yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. So, welcome to the podcast. Follow me on Patreon and on Twitter. Now, I'm going to do a thing about Twitter. I'll explain it, and actually explain it now. So, I'll turn the music down here. Follow me on Patreon, where I have one tier, £1 a month, as you know. And you get all these videos and audios, and you can download them all ad-free, all that good stuff. And you help me keep the lights on here at Super 8 Ecotronic. And one of the things that I'm going to use the Patreon's money for is I've noticed recently, since now, I mentioned it before, but I'm going to put some meat on that bone. Twitter is, obviously it's owned by Elon Musk, and it's changed a lot. So it had its issues before, and it's certainly got its issues now. Some people think it's better, some people think it's worse. For me personally, it's worse, because my tweets literally do nothing. So it's my only it's my main way of promoting this project. And if I did something particularly clever, or particularly relevant at the time, and put it on Twitter, it could go viral, such as it is. And I had a few moments like that over the past few years, but the way Twitter has gone this past year for me, and I don't know if it's because of my opposition to what's going on in Palestine. I really don't think it's that. I don't think I've been shadow banned. I don't know, because I'm not big enough for that. But my tweets literally go nowhere. I'm in an echo chamber where, like, the Rev Duffer, my pal, he might see them, and I just get nothing. I get nothing back, and it's the only way I have to promote this. So what I'm going to do, and I'm telling you in the interests of clarity, is I'm going to sign up for the premium in order to just to promote this project. That's the only reason I put up links to outside things, and as Twitter is going, just like Facebook is just, it doesn't share these things with anyone. And if I just put up a tweet or respond to a thing, I get nothing anymore. And it's been like that for quite a while. It's very frustrating, because it's my only real means of promoting my anti-capitalist, anti-colonialist message which is the whole point of this project. And to do it in my voice, this Irish accent, and speak the my brothers and sisters around me that want to hear their thoughts echoed, hopefully in their own voice. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here. And then to give other people on the outside a bit of an insight into what's going on here in a post-colonialist, although I would say still a colonialist, sort of post-violence society. So yeah, but anyway, so I'm going to sign up for the premium on Twitter, just letting you know that that's why I'm doing it. I don't know if I'm going to go for the whole blue check mark thing, but I'm going to sign up the lowest tier, which is something like £3 or £4 a month, and then the next tier up from that is the blue tick thing. So we'll see how I get on with that lower tier, and if I have to move up, and if nothing changes, I'm just gonna fucking let it go, obviously. But well, you sign up for a year, so it's a bit of a problem. You don't pay monthly, so there you go. But anyway, so just letting you know that because it's doing my fucking head in. I'm trying to share my work and literally echo chamber, wasting my absolute time. So to the point of today's episode is just on that final thought on the trend. You have to share these because I'm getting like literally getting nothing. Put it on YouTube, get nothing. Put it on Twitter, get nothing. And it's not that I expect it to be massive, but it's getting nothing compared to what I had last year. You know what I'm saying? So I need you to share this stuff. So yeah, so there we go. So today I just had a great chat with Gerry Carroll, People Before Profit, MLA, an all-round good guy. They're up in West Belfast, and what a great fella. So we had a chat with him about his thoughts on the American election and to give us the Irish socialist perspective on Trump and his victory and his thoughts on it and what he can he give us any insights, and sure as there's an eye on a goat, as my dad would say. He did. So we're going to be showing you that. I'm going to be playing that first, and then after that, I'm going to go through some social media with you, watching neoliberals break down and have moments coming to terms with the bad orange man and what it means for them. It's hilarious. It's great. It's that thing where politics has been reduced to performance, and it is really performative. And for these people, most of all, you know, Gerry and I talk a little bit about it in the interview, so we won't bury the lead there. And then after that, going to talk a little bit about Israel and specifically Israeli football fans who've been traveling Europe who shouldn't be allowed to play in international competition because if it's good enough to ban Russia, then I think we can all agree Israel should be given the fucking heave ho too. But sadly, they're not, and that, again, that's another hypocrisy that we're having to live with and having to try and process. We're getting used to those. So Israel football fans being hooligans in Amsterdam, but they didn't get away with it, and it's quite a lovely moment. So let's get to it. My interview with the mighty Gerry Carroll from People Before Profit. Okay, we're recording. Hey everybody, welcome to Politics, Culture and Some Other Shit with me and my guest, Gerry Carroll, People Before Profit, up there in Stormont, doing the Lord's work and rattling cages and all that sort of stuff. How are you, Gerry?
Good, Andy. Yep, doing good. How's
Good stuff.
things?
Aye, great. Well, I just in the interest of honesty, just let you know that I was talking to Gerry a few seconds ago and my computer shit itself. So this is us starting again. And you were in the middle of telling us about your housing bill and your
Yeah,
changes that you're pushing through. Do you want to finish that thought before
yeah,
we get?
yeah. Just I was saying that we're bringing forward a people's housing bill, so trying to reduce the rents that people are paying. It's astronomical. Trying to also address the fact that we've so many 20,000, 22,000 at least empty homes. An unregulated private sector model for the most part, and we're trying to take some action to address that. So, getting good feedback from people impacted by the housing crisis. Obviously, landlord politicians aren't best pleased. But that's the people we're trying to push against.
Mm,
So early days, we're have a consultation out at the minute on it, Andy. People can fill it out online. But we're trying to use it as a way to kind of highlight the real housing crisis and the press storming to do something about housing. So
mm.
yeah, so early days, but we're hopeful we can make an impact with it. Yeah,
Brilliant. And it's definitely something that he's doing. I've actually got a friend down here. He's been a community activist all my life. And he's currently homeless and living in a homeless shelter in Derry. And he's actually going through a disability thing with his leg. He looks like he might end up losing his leg and all this sort of. And he's been a community activist his entire life. And he's in Derry. It's
yeah,
insane. But anyway,
yeah,
best of luck with that. Obviously, it's much needed everywhere, I think, but especially here. So the reason I wanted to talk to you today was because uh, the the big fucking palooka, the big enchilada, the big orange what's it over in the United States has not only won the election, completely destroyed the the sitting administration. And you
hmm
did publish a post and your thoughts on that. So, would you give us your initial thoughts on that?
yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, not saying I told you so, but I mean, a few days beforehand, I was talking to some comrades, and I just thought it looks likely that Trump was going to win. Not that I'm pleased by that, of course.
No.
But to be honest, yeah, I didn't think he's going to win by as much as he did, and I think the last I seen was he was 5 or 6 million votes, I think, ahead of Kamala, and that's probably changed somewhat.
Mm,
But he stormed it home. So obviously, like concerning in the sense that what Trump represents is obviously U.S. capitalism. As do the Democrats, but a more kind of like brash, maybe racist, sexist version of that sort of class and system. So that's obviously there's nothing to be cheering about because some people can kind of see that a blow to the Democrats is one thing, but cheering on Trump is something else. So
yeah.
um, we would kind of take I'm sure you saw from the status a different approach. I mean, and I put something out sort of early Wednesday, I think it was, about online that people should get ready to fight Trump because Trump um, he spoke well to kind of like an anti-war sentiment in the US because of Gaza, because of Afghanistan war, but this guy's he's a war hawk as well. He just essentially, as I understand it, trying to gear more towards a war possibly with China.
Yeah.
But really, why people voted for him? Well, I think what really happened was people didn't vote for the Democrats, so the vote of the Democratic Party absolutely collapsed. And I think that's down to a few things. I mean, first of all, is the Democratic Party support for the war in Gaza. They just obviously green-lighted, funded, supported the war without any equivocation, and not just in places like Dearborn in Michigan, places where there's a lot of sort of Arab Americans, but people who are really really pissed off with war and a genocide decided to stay at home. So that's part of the story. I think another part of the story is the fact that the U.S. economy, whilst on, as I understand it, official level, it's the numbers look good in the sense that you know um, unemployment is relatively low and other sort of figures. But the real sort of devil in the detail is the fact that there's, I think, $12 trillion of debt in the US, and that's a large chunk of that, as I understand it, is household debt. The price of food has shot up. Obviously, if
Hmm.
you're a Democratic candidate or Democratic Party leader, you don't experience or are affected by the price of bread or milk or whatever shooting up, but millions, tens of millions of working class people in America are. So there's a kind of like a middle finger, I think, to Harris and the Democratic establishment to say you're completely out of touch. You're completely disconnected with the problems that working class people face, and some people wrongly, but some people voted for Trump in that situation, and quite a lot of people stayed at home.
Yeah.
So it's worrying on the surface, but I think if you can find a way, to kind of give a left expression to that through unions, through Black Lives Matter organizations, then that's where the hope lies. But I understand a lot of people are probably jaded maybe and kind of depressed by the result. But I haven't seen the detail, of that
Yeah.
possible response.
Yeah, and I think. Well, what do you think about? I don't know if it's connected to, as you said, the middle finger to the voter and to the working class, or the middle class as they call them in America. Um, if it's connected that they also managed to put up against Trump, who does have a populist appeal. Whether I don't think he's. I think he's a liar, but
Mm-hmm.
he does have a populist appeal. He does for a billionaire. He does seem to be able to court the common man sort of vote and all this, which is a bizarre
Mm-hmm.
sort of uh, two sets of opposing things coming up again, turning into the one thing. It's mad, but also with the notion or with the idea that the Democrats gave a middle finger, they also uh, with that offered a uniquely unattractive candidate
Mm-hmm.
up against a man who is, whether you like it or not, a significant proportion of the American voter like him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's horrible, and but he's like his politics are somewhat conventional. Some cases more right wing, obviously.
Yeah,
But he doesn't sound like a normal quote unquote politician, which is part of
yeah,
the appeal. And a part of that is appealing to racism. Part of that is appealing to sexism, which he does quite well. But also part of it is like, not just Harris, but some of these Democratic um, candidates are just robotic. A bit like sort of New Labour or New Labour, whatever it's called, under Stormer. And like Trump's many things, but he's unpredictable, and some people like that. And that's kind of that's part of his contradiction. But obviously, at the heart of his politics is dead against anything progressive. For the billionaire class, Elon Musk is his best mate now, seemingly. So he does that thing where he pretends and talks
yeah,
like, or what he thinks, working class people sound like or want to sound like. But his policies are obviously anti-working class. So that's the contradiction, and part of it is,
yeah,
as you said, Andy, it's like the Democrats were so terrible. I mean, Harris kind of had a bump because at the start when she announced when she got the nomination, because she wasn't Biden. Biden was obviously completely in it at everything. But as the campaign went on, she was offering nothing, nothing of substance, no break with him and his administration, which he obviously was central to, and people just who were, like I said, affected by the economy, annoyed and then angry about Gaza, just thought, why would they vote for something that's been an administration that's been terrible for the last 4 years? So yeah, I think a lot of it's down to Trump obviously won, but the Democrats lost in a major
yeah.
way, and that's their own feeling that for offering no alternative and just basic run of the mill centrist politics, and I think people in most places in the world want and demand and need something beyond that.
Yeah, it is staggering to see. The Harris campaign. You could clearly see the echoes of Obama, where they didn't, as you said, they didn't offer any policies, and for Obama it was hope and change, and for her it was joy. There was you could just see the think tank just dripping off her. There was no policy. Just how do we conduct a really short campaign? So she was
Mhm.
lucky; she didn't get involved in the mix for the full 2 years, which is 2 years for an American election is bizarre to the rest of the world. Everyone else seems to be able to do it in 4 or 5 weeks, but for America, she was only in there for what, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that.
Mhm.
So she was able to just skate along on hope and joy, and then the client media, who after I finished talking with you, I'm going to be doing some stuff on just watching these people break down on screen at the election result. And there is a Schadenfreude about it. I'm enjoying it. I'm watching these, like the morning Joes and the, what do you call that show with Whoopi Goldberg, The View or whatever
Ah,
it's
yes,
called.
yes, yes.
All the wa- and and they just lie.
Yeah.
It's that Machiavellian statement, that of which you are guilty, accuse your enemy. They just lie and lie and lie, and then you go, but that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. And the American people have seen that for many, many years now, much longer than this election campaign. And I think it's all just compounded into this. You know what? It if you're a normal working class person in the United States, how do you vote for the Democrats?
Mhm.
How do you do it? You're watching the likes of Nancy Pelosi, who is a criminal. She's the best stock trades on earth. This 83-year-old woman manages to outwit the best of Wall Street. All that sort of stuff. The American people have seen that,
Mhm.
and I think to their credit, they're not excusing it anymore. I just don't expect Trump to be any better, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
if they're capable of holding the Democrats to account, they might hold him to account
Mhm.
in the next 4 years if he doesn't live up to expectation. That's the only hope I've got for the whole thing.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there's something strange as well as, obviously people putting their faith in these godlike characters, and presidents are elevated, to this position. And I mean, it's like, okay, like I said, I mean, it's after the fact, but I thought Trump had a possibility of winning. I mean, the fact that people, some of the people are talking about had no idea that he could possibly win is just like
Yeah,
completely detached. Now, you can have your preferred candidate
yeah,
and be upset if they don't win, but the fact that presumably these people are all just well-to-do, backers of the Democrats and disconnected from those kind of inflationary pressures and other real life problems that I talked about. So it's like no understanding of economics in terms of like what drives people to vote or their daily struggles. And it is just kind of like, oh, Harris is better on abortion and better on some other things than Trump. How could people not vote for her? But it's like, as you
yeah,
said, getting the Democratic Party economic agenda, which is not too dissimilar from Trump's. Trump's is maybe a bit more aggressive on maybe seemingly wanting to reduce corporation tax and maybe a bit more protectionist. But like a lot of the stuff with China in terms of like restricting blocking Chinese companies and other companies sort
mm,
of in Asia, like Trump started that, but Biden continued it. So it was like there's not a lot of there's obviously some differences. I'm not saying there's no difference at all between the two, but in terms of the economics of it, they're both pretty much representatives of the capitalist class. And
yeah,
just Trump's more braggadocious and aggressive maybe about how he presents it. But in terms of the economics, it's like screwing over working class people and just telling them to get on with it type thing. And why would
yeah.
anybody go for that?
And then there's also it seems to I had a conversation with a fellow socialist the other day, and I was explaining it was before the election. Like yourself, uh, getting closer to the election, I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
I thought it could swing either way, but in the week previous to it, the 2 or 3 weeks previous to it, I was showing, yeah, I think he's going to do it.
yeah,
But I said to this fellow socialist, and I was maybe being a little bit, cheeky when I said it. I said, I hope he does win. And she went, why? Oh, she was all shocked, and I said, well, you can't reward a genocide,
yeah.
and that's your choice. It's not the choice you want, but it's the choice that's there. And if you're given the choice between this guy coming in, who probably isn't going to be any better on Palestine, probably not really, taking hundreds of millions of dollars from Zionists for his campaign, but regardless of what he's going to do in the future, you can't see it in that crystal ball. This is the party that's doing this genocide right now, and you cannot be seen to reward that. If you do reward that, you're it's open season.
Mhm.
You'll get away with anything.
Yeah, I think you would have been a bit less
I was
enthusiastic.
being
Maybe.
cheeky.
I know you are. I know you are.
I was being,
I know you are.
I was, I was,
You,
I
you
was,
were looking at an
I was
argument.
trying to get. I was looking at Eric. I was trying to get a reaction.
Yeah,
I'm not glad he won. You
yeah.
get what I'm saying?
And I've seen it maybe.
But I'm not glad he won, but
Yeah,
I'm
no,
glad
no,
she
I
lost.
get you, I get you. But I've seen like some people online, social media and stuff, and being a bit more positive about Trump, in the belief that, well, in the belief that he's something that he's not, and in the belief that the Democrats should be punished. So a bit of a contradictory kind of take on
Yeah.
things. And like people are saying, I've seen some YouTube videos. I haven't watched them all yet, but saying that Trump would be worse for Palestine. And obviously, like his record is, as you said, he's a Zionist. He supports Israel, supports Netanyahu. Moved the American embassy, wasn't it, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, I think.
Yep.
But I mean, also you're saying that people who've been through a genocide, this is going to be worse. I mean, like,
I know.
what does worse would look like, and it doesn't bear thinking about. But they've been through hell in a year. Trump isn't a savior of Palestinians, but if there's a way to
No.
kind of put him under pressure and to kind of like test his, like, he spoke in a very limited, very vague, but he gave anti-war sentiments in the election in some of the speeches because he.
But then he'll give another speech a few days later, contradict that.
Exactly, exactly. And part of it was that, but I think part of it was that, his team presumably recognised that there's a lot of angry people around Palestine. He's not a supporter of Palestinians, but I was trying to use that for electoral gain. But what is the left? What is the Palestine solidarity movement, going to do to put pressure on the administration? And that's the key, the key question. So yeah, so I think there's a point in that. Lesser evilism obviously is the ideology, if you will, or the theory used to justify voting for the Democrats, in the sense that, oh yeah, they're bad, but they're not as bad as the other sort of guys. But I mean, like, you're talking about a genocide, and Harris never broke once. They never broke once
No.
from that. Towards the end, they started talking about a Palestinian state, which like is bare minimum, and you can't have a Palestinian state in any meaningful sense. Whilst, well, first of all, while Israel still exists as an apartheid state, and whilst it still
Mhm.
obviously control of checkpoints, control of land, sea, and air, and all this kind of stuff. But that was the best that she could come up with, the Democrats could come up with. So yeah, so I think people give them the two fingers, because
Yeah.
and they were warned, they were told, they were told by people in the sort of the DNC convention and other places that don't expect our vote if you're going to back Israel, and they kind of had their fingers in their ears and didn't want to listen to ordinary people, and they were punished. So that's on them.
It's amazing too that even as you said, they were told, and they were told by in states like Michigan and that are swing states that have significant Muslim and Arab uh, uh, majorities, even so that they can swing a vote in that
Yeah,
state, and they were told, "We're not voting for you." And the mayor of Dearborn,
that's right.
I think he came out, and a few other mayors, I think all the mayors in the state or something, all came out and said they were uh, stumping for Trump, and they still give them absolutely nothing.
Uh-huh.
They still offered nothing,
Yeah,
which shows you, as you rightly pointed out, that the Democrats seem to have put themselves into a bubble where they don't feel grocery
yeah,
prices. They don't know what the price of gas and diesel and fuel and what the cost of in America medical bills, which we're going to be facing soon, if you ask me. Um, they've put themselves in so much of a bubble that they literally don't get it.
yeah. I think so. I think so.
Yeah. So did you? Just on one a wee side note, and then we'll uh, we'll pull it. Did you see the football fans in Amsterdam last night? The Maccabbi Tel Aviv football
No, I
fans.
didn't see it. No, no.
I'm going to be doing a wee thing about it. First start, Maccabbi Tel Aviv not being kicked out of all Israel sports teams not being kicked out of the international
Absolutely.
and competition is absolutely insane, especially if you're going to do it to Russia for what they've done in Ukraine, what's going on in Ukraine, then you have to do it with Israel because it's worse.
Yeah.
But um, the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans last night played PSV no, Ajax, sorry, in Amsterdam,
Okay.
and they went storming through the city. And they, at one point, somebody had a Palestinian flag, and they climbed up on the wall and pulled it down, and they were sort of being all aggressive and football hooligan-y. Well, they got jumped and they got fucked into the river.
Okay. Right. That's yeah.
And
No, no, no.
no, no, it's on. You'll find it on Twitter, but it's interesting. The headlines. I then googled it. So the headlines from the newspapers is anti-Semitic mob
All right.
attacks. And Israel had to send planes to the airport in Amsterdam to get them back
Wow.
to Israel. Yeah, it's a wee bit mad.
So
But anyway,
playing for
just
football hooligans, but no food for Palestinians. You're like, being
no.
targets. Like, yeah,
Oh, yeah. And the really interesting wee thing was I went through all the headlines, to the Guardian and in American newspapers, and they're all saying pretty much the same thing. But the paper and this, whenever I see a thing like this, it always kind of makes it. I just go, what, why? I don't understand this. The paper that actually, in the headline, told the truth was the Daily Mail,
right.
and all the rest of them were coming up. It was like they were just repeating. They were all the same,
Yeah.
but the Daily Mail told the truth. I was like, "I don't get this. What's going on? I'm confused now."
It's my first time, or maybe the editor was off sick that day or something. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, you know what? I'll go and check it after this. It might be taken
Yeah,
down or
yeah, yeah.
changed. Yeah. But here, listen, Jerry, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks
You're
for
very
that.
busy. And so have you anything else coming up that you want to share? And
Well, looks like there is a general election called in the south. So, doing a bit of
mm,
canvassing at the weekend.
I can't get down for
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
sadly.
and over the next few weeks. So, I mean, yeah, keep an eye on that. I suppose it's going to be
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
interesting. We're hoping that we can, at the very least, keep our TD seats, but I think we can get possibly one or two more. And I think
yeah,
if we do, we'll be probably close to, if not, bigger than the Labour Party in the south. So that's obviously not a guarantee, but I think it's possible. So yeah, and the big obviously change, if you will, is Sinn Féin. Obviously, they were expected maybe a year ago to sort of mop up in the south, and it doesn't look like that's happening again. That could change, but I think given
mm,
the way things have went in recent months, that's probably unlikely. So, yeah, I did a lot of work on the elections now in the coming weeks. So hopefully we'll do well, and we'll give it our best stab, as they say.
yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Gerry Carroll, People Before Profit, MLA, up there in Stormont, doing the Lord's work. Thank you so much, and best of luck on Sunday.
Thanks, Andy.
Oh, microphone. I've just realised my microphone wasn't on there. So I just realised my microphone wasn't on there. So I was talking for a few seconds and you never heard me. Um, I'll lead with, we'll go straight into the football fans. So Maccabbi Tel Aviv football fans playing in the Europa League last night they were in Ajax and they went boogaloo. But I'll show you what happened to them. It was really, really rather satisfying. But this is them in Greece, in Athens, back in March, and they didn't face any sanctions for it, as Leia Mohammed tells us. FIFA and UEFA have been aware of such racist, aggressive behaviour. So this is Israeli football team fans in Maccabbi Tel Aviv brutally beat a Palestinian man in Athens ahead of the game against Olympiacos. Israeli violence apparently goes unpunished in other countries, and how is Israel still competing in Europe? And the point is completely valid, because Russia is completely sanctioned. We just had the Summer Olympics. There was no Russian team, Russian athletes competing under a neutral banner. Any of those that chose to do so, if they wanted to compete, that's what they had to do. So, and I would contend that what Israel is doing in Palestine is multitudes worse than what Russia and Ukraine is going on between Russia and Ukraine. That is at least a war. Your opinions on how it started, who's winning, who's losing, all that, that's not important. That's not the point. Not the point of this. The point is that that's a war. Ukraine have aircraft and drones and soldiers and tanks and all the missiles and all the things that armies have. Palestinians have none of that except for what they can make themselves, literally. Anti-tank mines and things like that. They're building themselves in the rubble of Gaza, which is staggering. So here, last night, so over the past week, the international, the Champions League football and Europa League football, they've been having a minute's silence for the victims of the floods in Valencia, in Spain. Was it Valencia? Maybe it wasn't. Was it Valencia? My Spanish geography isn't just what it should be. So, this is they're having the minute silence ahead of these matches. So this is the Maccabbi Tel Aviv, and it's poignant because there was hundreds of people killed in those floods, and people are respectfully being quiet. And this is the Tel Aviv fans in that same minute at Ajax last night. So they were chanting, whistling, jeering and booing during the minute. Now, this is where it gets satisfying. What's going on here? Why is this not moving? This is the same fans going through Amsterdam, either later on in the evening or earlier in the evening, I'm not sure. Fuck you, Palestine, right? So somebody climbed up onto the side of a house here, and you see there was a Palestine flag hanging out the window. You can see it on the screen there, and they're singing this song. Now, I've got a better version of that. Let me just, where someone actually explains what's going on. Give me 1 second here. Stay with me. Should have had this all teed up. If I was a professional, I would. But I'm not a professional, so I didn't. Where is it? Anyway, no, it's not there. I thought I had it. Maybe it got took down. That's another thing that happens. You bookmark a thing, and then you go to find it, and it's gone. So these fans, anyhow, I'll explain. The poster explained, so I will explain it. Sorry, just find it again. There it is. These fans climbed up onto the roof and pulled down "Fuck you, Palestine." You can hear what they're saying there, right? Absolutely lovely, Bob. Lovely bunch of lads. So later on, they started to attack people. So we'll just find it there. So they're going through Amsterdam like a mob, being all aggressive and violent. So the Dutchies were like, fuck you, we're having none of this. So got laid into them. And this is where it gets satisfying at the end. Although, get what's in these fucking Zionist pricks getting a kicking, for me, is satisfying. Ha ha! They fucked them in the river. And he said, say free Palestine and we'll go. Because they wouldn't let them out of the river. And they said, free Palestine. So there you go. Proper order. Fucking Zionist cards. Cards, fuck them. I don't advocate violence, usually. In this instance, I have absolutely no problem. So that was nice. And then Paris Saint-Germain, just on the football thing, I'll find it here for you. And this is, again, this is more, why is my camera keep changing? My camera keeps jumping all over the fucking screen here. I don't know what's going on. Again, same commenter, Leila Hamad. As expected, the French Interior Minister didn't like last night's PSG fan support for Palestine. So we'll show you that in a sec. But a genocide is taking place and none of you have the courage of the morals to oppose it. So she says, let's refresh your mind. UEFA statement. UEFA condemns the ongoing Russian military aggression in Ukraine. And even more so, UEFA Foundation for Children awards €1 million to assist Ukrainian children. And that's all good and well, fair play to them. But Palestine? Nothing. Russian athletes? Banned? Nothing. Come on. So there it is there. So the PSG Ultras, so PSG is Paris Saint-Germain. And this is during the UEFA. Actually, do you know what? Just going to turn that music down in case I get a copyright strike because they're that fucking petty. They unfurl this amazing banner, Free Palestine, and underneath it says, Free Palestine, war on the field but peace in the world. And the PSG were playing Atletico Madrid. Look at that there. Isn't that amazing? It's absolutely huge. It is more or less takes up 2 full stands in the away end, or in the home end. That is magnificent. Where on earth do you even go to get something that big made? That's the biggest banner I've ever seen in my life. And apparently the PSG Ultras are very, I didn't know this, but they're quite dead on. And Ultras tend to be quite dead on anyway. But instead of having lots of different banners, they tend to get together and get one big banner from time to time whenever they feel they need to do this. This is what they do. I've never seen this before. So this is magnificent. Well done, PSG. That's just wonderful. Isn't that fantastic? Look at the size of it. It's huge. I've literally never seen a banner that big in my life. Genuinely, like, where on earth would you even go to get something that big made? It's huge. There you go. Wonderful. So that's, and again, I only do this to illustrate the cowardice of our so-called leaders. One of the things I keep saying on this podcast is the gulf between the people and the people, the working in the middle class. The middle class don't really exist. They're just well-paid workers. But let's call them that. When we say the working class, we're incorporating all that. The petty bourgeoisie, to use a Marxian phrase. The working class are so far removed from our leaders, as we talked about Gerry. Gerry mentioned it in the interview. They're living in a bubble, so much so that gulf between the worker on the ground and the ruling elite is vast. You're talking revolutionary sort of. You have to have that to create to set. And you're creating the conditions for revolution, and I think we're there now. We're there. We're getting there. This gulf is ever increasing, and this is another indicator of it. That's what this is. This thing between UEFA and FIFA, the IOC, seemingly happy to ban Russia and its athletes for what's going on in Ukraine, but equally seemingly deaf, dumb, and mute when it comes to a literal genocide being what we're watching on fucking Twitter and TikTok being played out in the palms of our hands. And in that moment, quite content to say and do absolutely nothing. And the hypocrisy is so glaring and so staggering. Those fans at that club, they will get fines for that, but Maccabbi Tel Aviv will get absolutely nothing. So people aren't having it. And unfortunately, it's the people that are going to have to drag their leaders, literally drag their leaders to do something about this. And this is what I think that this is one of the many indicators that the American election represents. Again, touched on it. Gerry mentioned it in the interview. The gulf between the people and the elite. Elite, I use the phrase that they give themselves. I certainly don't think of them as elite anything. Elite greedy bastards, that's all they are. But that gulf is so vast and so increasing that when the American worker gets a chance to kick them in the fucking mouth, they've done it. I don't think most of the people that voted for Donald Trump think that he's going to save them from anything. I don't. There are going to be some, for sure. But I don't think most of them think that Trump's going to save them from anything. They're not that stupid. They can't do. I don't believe it. I think they got a chance, much like in, what was it, 2016? Exactly the same. I listened to the Jimmy Dore show, and he references this character that he interviewed in, I can't remember where it was, some Virginia or some southern state, and he's a Waffle House cook. And he said, I'm a Waffle House cook. Do you think that a Waffle House cook from Virginia thinks that some loudmouth Yankee is going to come and save us? No, but we got a chance to kick lemons in the mouth, so we did it. And I think there's a lot of that. So now I hope those same people hold Trump accountable going forward. I'm not sure that they will, but I hope they do. And it's either that or revolution. So there we go. That's an interesting thing, isn't it? And then, for those of you that watch the video, for those of you that don't, there's a video of this on the Patreon, or you can go and watch it on YouTube. Patreon's obviously ad-free. You can download it and do what you like with it. Look at this fascinating image. I had this up as a background image at the start of the video, but I think that this was the Democratic Party this was the Democratic Party conference. And for those of you listening to this can't see this, I'm going to try to explain this absolutely bizarre image. And it's the backdrop on the stage, and it's APAC, it says top APAC, or maybe this was the APAC conference. Was this an APAC conference? Regardless. And it's the Israel flag and the American stars and stripes all just flowing together on this mawkish nationalist display on the stage. And the commentator, who's Manny Quinn, who is hilarious on Twitter, says, "Goddamn Russians interfering in our elections." And I'm just going to like that there, what you said there. Somebody said, "Putin may interfere with us, but Israel bought our cabinet." And Manny Quinn says, "I wish Putin would interfere. He could take the majority of our parliament and send them to the fucking gulag." So, there you go. Russian interference, indeed. So, to the last part of this episode. How long have we been going? 49 minutes. That's good. So, another little bit and we'll be done. So, I'm going to This is a lady doing a wicked impression of Kamala Harris, who, if you don't know, is rumoured to be a mad drunk. Check this out.
Hello. I don't know what to tell you, Barack. I have no idea where the money went, right? $20 million? Can you tell Beyonce to give me a call back? She can also just wire me. Technically she should pay me back. I didn't even perform. Is this Offset? Oh, I thought you guys broke up. Can I talk to Cardi for a second?
So she's referencing obviously the tidal wave of celebrities that came out in support of Harris, which meant in the overall tally, absolutely fuck all. Meant nothing. As it should. As it should. Wonderful. Here's AOC. So this is the section called Shit-libs breaking down. And AOC, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, the much vaunted socialist and leftist, a part of the squad, which now it's become quite apparent she was a fucking plant the whole time. And I don't want to get conspiratorial, but this woman was as fake as fuck from the very beginning. And I'm not going to be dishonest. I fell for it. I thought she was legit. I didn't just realise how bad things were at the time, but she is fake as fuck. And this is her reaction to Donald Trump being elected.
We are about to enter a political period that will have consequences for the rest of our lives. We cannot give up. We now find ourselves in a time in history that has precedent, and we find ourselves, I believe, in a time where there are, let's say, peers in history of mass movements of people that mobilize to protect one another in times of fascism and authoritarianism. And this is the era that we are poised to enter. Donald Trump has talked about turning the military on U.S. citizens that he deems his domestic political enemies.
The American Democrats have literally just passed a bill which allows the American military to be deployed against American citizens and use lethal force. That's the Democrats just did that just a month ago.
Authoritarians and people that he affiliates closely with and strongmen abroad in regimes like that, it is
people that he associates closely with. Not John McCain. What do you call him? Dick Cheney? Dick Cheney, yeah. Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris. Dick Cheney, the real butcher of Baghdad. The Halliburton plant into the American political establishment. Halliburton, the American military go in, destroy the country, Halliburton come in and build it back up. Dick Cheney sitting on the board of that company. He's sitting on the board before, he goes to the government, he goes back to the board, makes an absolute fortune out of the destruction and the rebuilding of Iraq, which hasn't happened, but they made a fortune nonetheless.
Not uncommon to jail.
So don't be talking to me about about Trump's fucking allies. Trump hasn't done anything yet. He's not in power yet. Again, not excusing Trump. I don't expect him to be much better, and I hope that the American people hold him accountable for it. I hope they punish them at the polls, which is what the only way people can do it, unfortunately.
Political dissidents or legislative opponents. This is the world that we very realistically may be entering.
Such bullshit. Now check this out as well. This is another liar and fucking full of shitter.
So have fun with that one. So it looks like all the white women who voted for Trump are about to find out what Serena Joy went through when they cut off her little finger in The Handmaid's Tale. Because Trump's buddies are all over social media saying, hey, guess what? We are going to enact Project 2025, and Trump has just promised us all spots in his administration. Joke's on you. So have fun with that one, ladies, because we told you so. And when you are bleeding out in an emergency room, when they take away your right to vote, all of these things that are about to happen to you, they're not going to ask you who you voted for. They're not going to ask you what you thought about Project 2025 and you really thought it was Agenda 47 and that's not what Trump told you. They're not going to care one little bit because we're all going down with the ship. Okay? Because this country couldn't elect a woman president. They especially couldn't elect a woman of color.
Fuck
So instead,
off. Fuck
you
off.
put a man in office who's guilty of assault, who's a felon, because you'd rather carry water for the white men in your life.
What a load of fucking shit. That is the gaslighting bullshit. Project 2025 is a document published by a think tank called the Heritage Foundation. They publish many documents, but they publish in an election year. They publish loads and loads of. They publish a doc. So there'll be a 2025. You know, and there'll be a what's the next one? 20. So there'll be a Project 2029. They publish all of these things. Donald Trump has distanced himself from it. He says he knows nothing about it. It's nothing to do with him. It's not his policies. And again, if it turns out that it's true, then so be it. I mean, you have to hold him to account. But what she's saying is just lies. It's made up. She's made this up. She's projecting this Handmaid's Tale vision of the future. Now, American republicanism is deeply connected to American fundamental Christians, right-wing Christians. We know this. This has always been the case. So are the Democrats, for that matter. But the Republicans do have that relationship, absolutely, for sure. And there are people within the Republican movement that would gladly, go that direction. But it's not Donald Trump, so far as I know. And this thing about the putting of your abortion rights, your personal abortion rights, ahead of a genocide, it's the most selfish fucking thing I've ever heard. It is the most selfish thing I've ever heard. Sure, your bodily autonomy and your right to access safe, legal abortions is really, really important. Absolutely. Absolutely essential. But it's not more important than a genocide. I hate to break that news to you. If that's news for you, it's I'm sorry. I think your moral fucking compass has been sitting too close to somebody else's magnet. It's important, but it's not as important as a genocide. Sorry. That's kind of where I am with this. And I'll say this as well. If you placed your hope in the Democratic Party in America to keep your bodily autonomy, your rights to safe abortion, if you placed it in them, you placed it in the wrong place. Whenever Donald Trump was in power, the Democrats had an opportunity because they had the House. There's the House and the Senate. They had I think it was the House. They had the House, or was it the House? Aye, it was the House. And they had an opportunity to oppose Donald Trump's judicial picks. State judicial picks. Right? And instead of doing that, which would have meant them having to stay on over the holidays, they let them go through unopposed. Right? Ensuring that Donald Trump's judicial picks, which then affects the states' rights, what what rights the states offer their citizens, and abortion can be and is one of those. And they chose not to. So have a go at the Democrats for that as well. I mean, absolutely, if they go down that route, by all means. But that is a thing that actually fucking happened. That is a thing that actually happened. And there was none of this. There was none of this indignation, this public displays of indignation. None of it. This is why this American two-party system is it's so damaging. It's so dangerous for democracy and so dangerous for individuals. I'm starting to think democracy isn't all it's cracked up to be, if I'm honest. Look at this. This is another shit-lib breaking down. The editor of The Guardian has offered counselling to staff troubled by Trump's victory. These people seriously need to get a grip. I think this is paywalled. Let me just check. No, it's not. So let's have a little read. Let me get rid of that. The Guardian offers therapy to staff after devastating Trump election win. Oh, it is. Sorry, this is paywalled. I can't read. Bollocks. I used to have this site I could put these into. Why would you paywall that? That's bizarre, isn't it? The Guardian is offering counsel and staff as it vowed to support its workforce after Donald Trump's upsetting US victory election victory this week. Isn't that fucking mad? Did you ever hear anything as fucking ridiculous in your life? So, continuing with the shit-lib meltdown, I'm not joking. There's literally loads of this stuff. This is a so-called comedian called Jimmy Fallon.
Let's be honest,
he does one of those late-night shows, those terribly out-of-date things of the past that should be put in the museum. Look at his face. He looks like he's going to cry. Listen to this. For fucking bullshit.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go. For healthcare, for climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine.
This is so funny.
For NATO.
For NATO. It's a terrible night for NATO.
And democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet. Let's be honest, it was a terrible night.
So this was a post by Jimmy Dore, someone who I'm a huge fan of. He says, it was a terrible night for science, for journalism, for free speech, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO. It's a bad night. He's fucking crying for NATO. For the truth, for decency and democracy. Trump broke him. He's actually crying for NATO and Ukraine and big pharma COVID lies. He really believes this shit. That's the sad part. Guys like him actually believe the war propaganda just like he believed the COVID propaganda. Truly amazing. I'm not commenting on the COVID thing, safe and effective and all that. He's crying for journalism. Biden tortured Assange and convicted him of a felony for doing journalism that exposed war crimes. He's truly shamefully ignorant on purpose. Wow, isn't that fantastic? So continuing the shit-lib meltdown. We'll let that go. Oh no, here, Revolutionary Blackout Network. This is a fantastic channel you must follow. And Nick Cruz is this guy's name. Kamala Harris becomes the first Democrat to lose the popular vote in decades as Democrats are punished for supporting genocide. So let's have a listen to what Nick Cruz has to say. Usually, always full of good insights.
Kamala Harris becomes the first Democrat in decades to lose the popular vote as Democrats are punished for supporting genocide. Democrats are just now realizing that it's hard to win a general election while you are slaughtering thousands of children. Apparently, palling around with Liz Cheney and having her and Bill Clinton go around Michigan explaining to Arabs why their family deserves to die by the hands of Israel is not a good election strategy.
No.
Kamala Harris yelling, "I'm speaking," to anti-genocide protesters will go down as a historic gaffe.
Everybody has a right to be heard, but right now I am speaking.
Right now, I know what you're speaking of. I want the ceasefire.
But what about the genocide?
I want the border
What about the genocide,
and I
though?
respect your right to speak, but I am speaking right now.
Yeah. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that. Otherwise, I'm speaking.
What a fucking cow.
Was 100% okay with losing to Donald Trump, someone that they called a fascist and a threat to our democracy because they couldn't get over their hatred of Arabs and the left. This is the most deserved loss in history because polls often show that the majority of the American people support an arms embargo on Israel. And if Kamala supported an arms embargo, she would have had increased support. Do you guys know how crazy it is that the Zionists told the Democratic Party to take a dive against Donald Trump and they listened? The Democratic Party lost everything. Democrats lost the House, Democrats lost the Senate, the popular vote, and the White House to the Orange Cheeto, all because Kamala Harris couldn't say no to her AIPAC handler husband. Trump winning is not good, but I couldn't imagine anything more dire for the future of humanity if the ruling class was rewarded and given a mandate for genocide.
That is exactly my position. Exactly my position. Donald Trump winning is not a good thing, but it would be unbelievably bad for the world if the ruling class of the military-industrial complex, of the banks, the Wall Street, the banking class, it would be devastating if she had won this election. It was so dangerous. I would say all the things that the Shit-libs are saying about what might happen, although they're not saying what might happen, they're saying what is going to happen under Donald Trump. Under Kamala Harris, I mean, don't get me wrong, LGBTQ rights are going to be secured. Access to abortion is probably going to be secured. But that's it. That's all you're getting. The American working class are not going to get health care. Their children are still going to be drowning in student debt. Those things probably aren't going to change under Donald Trump. I don't expect that they will. But you cannot reward people committing a fucking genocide. And what message are you giving to them if you do? You're telling them it's okay. We're okay with genocide. And maybe we'll be next. Do you think that conversation, those thoughts aren't being had by the elite? Again, a term they offer unto themselves. Of course.
Trump, because we're not voting for Biden ever. Enjoy Trump. We hope you love him. Go do the same. Trump, we're not voting for Biden. Enjoy Trump. We're never voting for Biden. Y'all pay for dead babies. Y'all pay for dead babies. What's wrong with you? How much money did you give Joe Biden? Y'all paying for dead babies. Enjoy Trump. We're never voting for Biden.
There we go. Well done, Nick Cruz. And then there's Gerry Carroll put up a post.
Pennsylvania has...
That's 8 minutes long. Not going to play that. And this is... we have a winner, folks. This is from Matt Walsh, who is very questionable. He did that. I think he's the guy that made that film, Am I Racist? Have you seen that? I haven't seen it. I'm going to watch it, though. Out of curiosity. This is a woman in a car having a meltdown.
I'm sorry. No. Why? Do you really hate me that bad? I'm sorry. No.
I kind of do right now, yeah. Yeah. So there we go. I think I'm going to call this. There was a kind of a longer post from, we'll just take a wee scan at it, from Vigilant Fox, which is a interesting Twitter account again. A wee bit right-wingy, I think. I'm not absolutely certain. But doesn't mean you're not right. There's it there. So the View hysterically melt. So the View, I will take a little look at this. So the View is a daytime TV show based in the UK. There was a thing called Loose Women. It's very like that. Women sitting, 4 or 5 women sitting on a panel, being fucking completely confident in everything that they say, no matter how siloed and isolated they are from the reality that the rest of us has to face. So the View hysterically melts down over Trump's landslide victory. Thank God people like us lost in a landslide. Take a moment to sit back and enjoy their spectacular defeat. And Whoopi Goldberg, who would be, for those of us living not in the US, she would definitely be the most famous of these ladies. But for some reason, people take their opinion seriously. They sit and pontificate about the political to's and fro's of the day, and I don't know why on earth they're considered authoritative in any way at all, but they are. This show is quite big, apparently. So let's have a little listen. There's Whoopi Goldberg.
So, how you feel? I'll start. Yeah, go ahead. My takeaway is that the system works. We live in a democracy. People spoke. This is what people wanted. I vehemently disagree with the decision that Americans made, but I feel very, very hopeful that we have a democratic system in this country. We should value it. We should love it. We
Nothing wrong so far. All reasonable. Wait for it.
should protest if the situation arises that we need to protest, which I'm sure it will. And I've been through this before with Nixon. It's been very difficult, but boy, oh boy, do we have a country if we can keep it.
Yeah.
If we can keep it. Okay. So, I do remind these people, Donald Trump was president before. You know, this is his second time. So, political commentator Elisa Farah Griffin, I do not know who that was, followed Behar's melancholy comments describing Trump's massive crush of victory as beyond Reagan. In a surprising twist, Griffin dropped an unexpectedly good take. Why the American people chose Trump.
I have to say, I've always thought he could win. I thought in the final stretch she might eke it out. I didn't expect it to be this resounding. And I think there are some lessons from it. I think we forget about rural America. I think the working class feels left behind. They feel like the powerful, the elite only care about them and their power. And he spoke to them. We may not have liked his words, but they turned out for him. I mean, the map was, it was beyond Reagan what we saw last night. And I think we need to start listening more about the concerns of everyday Americans who feel like this system is failing.
When Reagan won.
This woman will never be seen again. You do not get to say that on mainstream media. You just do not. What she said was not that, insightful. But for these people, they live in a bubble. The theme of today's podcast, the bubble. They live in it, and you do not fucking get to say that. So, Sonny Hostin interjected with a complete meltdown, blaming cultural resentment for Trump's landslide victory. So this is another, so she's responding to what you just heard there.
If you look at the New York Times this morning, the headline was America makes a perilous choice. I think that in 2016, we didn't know what we would get from a Trump administration, but we know now. And we know now that he will have almost unfettered power. And so I worry not about myself, actually. I don't worry about my station in life. I worry about the working class. I worry about my mother.
This woman is never worried about the working class in her life. She's been elevated. She's up there. These people don't give a fuck. They don't mention the working class all the way through this. All they did was bang the drum, Trump man bad, Orange man bad. People got fucking fed up with it. Russia, Russia, Russia. People have seen through it. We don't give a fuck. They know that Israel has got their government by the throat.
They're a retired teacher. I worry about our elderly and their Social Security and their Medicare. I worry about my children's future, especially my daughter, who now has less rights than I have. And I remember my father telling me many, many years ago that I was the first person in his family to enjoy full civil rights. And now I have less civil rights than I had when he told me that. So again, I'm profoundly disturbed.
Again, projecting. Nothing has happened yet. They're projecting. And the lady that spoke before her, can't remember her name, she told you what you needed to do. We need to give the working class what they need. We need to give the people what they want, what they need. We need to govern for the many, not the few. Who said that? As we know, Mr. Corbyn and others. So it goes on. Anna Navarro, who attended Kamala's election watch. Now, I'm not 100% sure who she is. I think she... I'm going to Google this, actually. She is the daughter of... Yeah. So she is... Anna Navarro's father, early life education, a former Minister of Navarro is the daughter of Violeta Flores Lopez and Jose Augusto Navarro Flores, a former minister under Nicaragua. These are people. I'm going to Google him. The father. So she shouldn't be allowed to comment on political things. Where's his Wikipedia? They've took his Wikipedia down. See that? Oh, there. No. See that? I can't. There's nothing there on her dad. That's fucking... Oh my God. That's insane. So let me just Twitter this. Right, we're done with Twitter. That's interesting, isn't it? So he was the Nicaraguan minister, and he doesn't have a Wikipedia page. There's nothing on him on the internet. Oh, I think I found something for next week's podcast. Wow, that's amazing. So the guy is actually, I'm not going to say anything in case I fucking incriminate myself, in case I incinerate myself. The guy he was involved with the Chicago bunch, the Chicago Doctrine, the Our Backyard, the all that stuff going on in South America, coups, Nicaragua, all that. He's involved in all that. And she's his daughter, and she's married into Washington elites, all that sort of stuff. Sitting there talking about the working fucking class. Wouldn't know anything about it. So there we go. That's the pod. We're done. I know, sorry, went a wee bit fucky there at the end, but I've never actually Googled someone. I've never actually Googled someone of significance and had come across a wiped. So he's been scrubbed from the internet because he should have that's fucking mad. So I'm going to check that out. See if I can dig in a little bit more into that. So people, if I end up becoming a disappeared person, this is why. I've crossed the deep state. I've gone too far. Yeah. Bring it on, bitches. So there we go. We're done. Check out that class picture. Alright, everybody. Like, share, subscribe. Do the thing. And I'm going to be doing the Twitter thing. So, yeah. head over to Patreon, lend me your support, £1 a month. That'd be very cool. Thank you. And thank you to all my patrons who already do that. It's very appreciated. Bye. And thanks to Gerry Carroll for being a fucking legend.